Good evening, and welcome to the Thursday, September 7th meeting of the Board of Education. If you would all please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any changes to our agenda?
There's a potential change in the agenda. I emailed the board late this afternoon. We have 5 members of the board here this evening. Your board bylaws on voting state that no act shall be valid unless approved at a meeting of the board by a majority vote of the members elected or appointed to and serving on the board, and a proper record made of the vote. One action item on tonight's agenda is the superintendent evaluation. Given that the board did not reach consensus on the 4 performance indicators coming to the board tonight, it is possible that these items may not reach the necessary 4 votes in either direction. Normally, when an action does not receive a majority of the elected members' votes, the motion is defeated. But this action is different in that an outcome must be reached to conclude my evaluation. Not approving the recommendation in this case does not mean that an outcome is reached. With that outcome possible, I was wondering if the board would want to postpone the vote until next week, September 14th. Your bylaw on agendas states the order of business may be altered and items added at any meeting by a majority vote of the members present. So I thought I would bring this up for consideration tonight with the possibility that we would move action item B to September 14th. Because of the possibility that we may not have a majority of the elected members able to vote in a positive direction on that this evening.
Okay, so, but our bylaws talk about adding. Doesn't say anything about deleting.
Maybe altered.
So,
Maybe altered and
maybe.
Adams added.
Oh, I apologize,
Right.
I misheard
Yep,
that.
Yep, so this can
Okay.
be altered.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we move action item B to the September 14th agenda.
Okay, it's been moved by Mrs. Skibzinski and supported by Mrs. Hood that we move those to our September 14th agenda for a vote. Is there any discussion on that?
I will. I'll support this reluctantly today. I agree. We probably will not reach any consensus either way on these today based on our previous conversation. Again, I say reluctantly because I don't really like the practice of pulling stuff off the agenda simply because board members are here. So I just want to make that very clear.
Can I just make a comment? I think in this situation, we didn't, the president and Dr. Matthews didn't find out until literally today or the last 24 hours that people weren't going to be here.
Well, I did know Mr. O'Connor had a conflict and
Could be
was going to be
late.
arrived till
Okay.
about 8:30.
Okay,
Mrs. Stevenson unfortunately had some things come up.
so it isn't, I don't think this was intentional, I guess.
Thank Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of moving that to the September 14th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, so we will move on to our comments from the audience. This is our first opportunity for comments from the audience related to agenda items only. If there is anyone that would like to make a comment, we have green cards in the back that we would like you to fill out before speaking. And seeing no one go to grab a green card, we will move on to our consent agenda items. We have one consent agenda item this evening, the approval of the minutes. I'd entertain a motion. Mrs. Skibzinski.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mrs. Skibzinski and supported by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion? Discussion's not needed consent agenda items unless there's a problem with them. So I will assume there is not and call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item of our action items is personnel recommendations. Dr. Matthews.
I will turn to Ms. Diglio for this item.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. This evening, I'd like to make the recommendation for 5 new teachers. For employees this evening, Katie Kodnowski. She will be working at Village Oaks in place of Michelle Hurley, who is also on this as a resignation this evening. Christine Johnson, she's replacing the secretary at VO. Terry McCarty, who is replacing a secretary as a community education assistant. Nude Kumar Patel, is going to be a new math teacher at the high school. Andrew Sari is going to be a special education teacher at the high school. And Michelle Hurley has resigned from VO as the music teacher.
I would entertain a motion. Mrs. Hood?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Support.
Been moved by Mrs. Hood, supported by Mr. Mena. Is there any discussion on the personnel report?
How's this put us as far as vacancies? I know we started Tuesday.
Are you referring to what's left?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are still hiring a special ed teacher will be posting to replace one that we had lost. And we have a long-term sub. We have some long-term subs, but we're in pretty good shape. The Michelle Hurley was our last resignation, and we were able to get out and ahead of that. So we're looking pretty good.
Okay.
In much better shape than we were last year.
Thank you. Other discussion on our personnel report? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we'll move on to our dance company trip to Chicago. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Nicole Ross, the Novi High School dance teacher, is requesting that the Novi Dance Company travel by charter bus to Chicago on Thursday, September 21st, 2017, to participate in several master classes at the Visceral Dance Center and Lou Conti Dance Studio, as well as observe a professional dance company rehearsal. Students will also attend an evening concert at the Harris Theater in Chicago. In order to keep costs down, this will be a collaborative trip with Farmington Harrison High School. So students will depart from Harrison High School on Thursday, September 21st, 2017 at 6 a.m. and will return to Harrison High School on Saturday, September 23rd, 2017 at 7 a.m. Students will be asked to pay $435, which includes lodging, transportation, concert tickets, and dance classes. They will stay at a hotel and miss 2 days of school to attend the trip. There'll be 6 chaperones, including Miss Chapin Dubé, a high school teacher who has led and organized overnight field trips in the past. And so we would ask the board to approve that this evening.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Mena.
I move that we approve the Novi Dance Company trip to Chicago from September 21st to the 23rd.
Is there support? Mrs. Hood supports. Is there discussion on the item? All right. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of supporting the dance trip to Chicago, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is our policy revisions and updates. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. The Governance and Policy Committee has reviewed the following policy for revisions and updating and brought them before the board for information to discussion on the August 17th and the August 22nd meetings. These are new policies. One is recording of district meeting involving students and parents, and the other is on information security. And as mentioned, we had brought these and discussed them at August 17 and August 22.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Mrs. Klebsinski.
That in the best interest of the Novi Community School District, the Board of Education adopt the Neola policies as presented.
All right. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Klebsinski and supported by Mrs. Hood. Are there any additional discussion on those items? I know we talked about them a little bit last time. Mr. Cook.
Yeah, last meeting I'd asked if, about the recording of the IEP and 504 meetings, and if this district's equipment wasn't working, were the parents still allowed to record, and vice versa, and, about sharing recordings of the meetings, and I don't believe that question was answered.
And we would work with the parents either way to ensure that the recordings could be shared collaboratively between either the district and the parents or the parents and the district.
Would that be part of the administrative guidelines then? Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of policy updates as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is our information discussion items. Dr. Matthews, our first is the MASB call for delegates.
The Michigan Association of School Boards 2017 Delegate Assembly will convene at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, November 9th, 2017 at the Lansing Center. Delegates selected by boards of education across the state will decide MASB's positions on a wide variety of issues affecting education. All delegates and alternates must be school board members. Only the delegates and alternates named by their respective board may offer motions and vote on issues. However, all school board members may speak on the issues and participate in the debate. Your 2017-2018 MASB dues must be paid in order for the district to participate in the delegate assembly. The certification of voting delegates and alternates, up to 4 members for each role, must be submitted online to MASB by the superintendent secretary no later than Friday, October 13th. The naming of delegates and alternates by their respective boards is presented tonight for discussion and will come back at the regular meeting on the Board of Education on September 14th. And so tonight we would ask the board to begin the process of identifying who might be the delegates and alternates for the MASB delegate assembly.
The 9th, I don't know if, is anyone already planning on attending the leadership conference that weekend, 9th, 10th, 11th, I believe it is. We have no, we do not have a school board meeting that night. Normally, we have a school board
Yes.
meeting on that
No,
Thursday
we-
evening. I know that Dennis.
I was able to get them to change it.
Well, that was helpful. If there's somebody that's maybe considering it, maybe they could contact me and we could,
Are you going?
I do not know, I'm going to be in DC the weekend before that and I need to make sure that I have coverage for my student, for an exchange student that weekend, because I can't leave her without supervision. So I have not committed to going at this point. So.
So if the board could identify by next week who might be the
And
delegate.
you
can add.
We can identify 4 people that potentially could go just to that meeting, even if they're not going. It's at Lansing, so it's not like it's a tremendous distance away. So I would definitely be willing to go and represent the board on that day if no one else, for the delegate assembly, which I've done in the past. If there's no one else that's interested in driving up to do it, it's in the evening, so. But if you could kind of converse with me if you've got an inkling that you might be going to the conference at all, and you'd be interested in going to it, we can do up to 4.
Correct.
And you're not committing yourself to going, you're just saying potentially that you might be able to be there.
You have to be on the list
Right.
to be able to participate. So if you put your name on the list and don't go, there's no harm.
Right,
in
no
that.
harm in that. So please, share with me after you check your calendars for that weekend. That would be very helpful. All right, our next item is the technology bid, package number 16. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and I will turn to Ms. Minnick to introduce this item.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Good evening, trustees. You have before you this evening the technology bid package number 16 for your review and discussion. With us this evening is Scott Smith, our business partner with IDS, who will walk us through the details of the project.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. This project was for some audio-video upgrades and some lighting for the middle school auditorium. Basically, it was going to be updating the sound system, speakers and amplifiers, updating the video projector that's in there with a kind of a new digital base that can use the latest standards and getting brighter images, and then also replacing some of the theatrical lighting with some LED lighting. The bids were issued on June 22nd, and we received 4 bids on July 13th. The team reviewed the bids, and we interviewed the 2 apparent low bidders for this project. We did request 2 mandatory alternates. They were both related to different models of sound amplifiers, and we are recommending award of the 2 mandatory alternates. The apparent low bidder was Advanced Lighting and Sound. The district has worked with them in the past. They did the upgrades over at the high school Performing Arts Center last summer. They also offered a couple of voluntary alternates, and their first voluntary alternate was being able to remove a piece of equipment, reduce the scope of the project for a lower cost for the district if we did go with the alternate amplifiers. So we're also recommending that one. But in reviewing both bids, we're recommending award to the lowest apparent bidder, Advanced Lighting and Sound.
All right, discussion or questions for Mr. Smith this evening? Mrs. Glebzinski.
Does the equipment that's going to be installed, is that going to be comparable to what's at the high school in terms of familiarity, maintenance, usage of the equipment?
Yes. A lot of the pieces will be, by the same brands and same models. They might not be, there'll be kind of a step down
Yeah.
from what the high school is.
Yeah.
We'll be very familiar, so you'll be able to utilize the equipment from one school and then also go over to the other one.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Minnick?
Yeah, do we have all the stakeholders involved with using that equipment, involved in the design specifications for that?
Yes, we did. Yes, we consulted heavily with Lucas over there, and then Wanda was also part of it. And then Lucas was working with his assistants, people that are also working with him over there.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, and this will come back before us at
Next week.
the 14th
Yes.
for approval, so, okay.
Okay,
Thank you. If you do think of something, please get those questions to Dr. Matthews so that we can get them answered before the meeting next week. Technology bid package 17, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, and again, we'll turn to Ms. Minnick, who will introduce this item.
Next, we have the technology bid package number 17 for your review and discussion this evening. And with us, we have Jeff Mosher and Wanda Ciancio with our technology department.
Good evening. Tonight before you, we have a replacement for the district firewall. This is the first opportunity as field service districts that we've had a chance to do a cooperative bid. So this package entails 7 of our field districts, 7 of our 10 field districts in replacing firewalls. So we were able to aggregate all 7 districts and put out a comprehensive bid package on behalf of all 7 districts to leverage not only the buying power but also the standardization of equipment. This package went out in March of 2017 as part of the E-rate package, the bid process, and there were 5 bids received from all the major manufacturers. Those were carefully reviewed and evaluated. The committee recommended that we move forward with the CDW Cisco solution, which was also the lowest bid in the bid package. The total cost for the project over 3 years for Novi will be $55,797.80. That's before we apply any E-rate discounts. E-rate discounts will come in on a portion of that, and we're anticipating approximately $8,000, $7,000 to $8,000 reimbursement on that, as it's part of our free and reduced package funding allocation. So the firewall will replace our existing firewall. This is a next generation firewall with substantial growth built into it to accommodate any future bandwidth utilization. Our current firewall, we've had issues the past year with throughput. We bumped up to its capacity, and it caused some testing challenges with NWEA testing, which is a very web-intensive application, so it goes out to the web, comes back. As we were taking tests, we were having problems with the firewall handling the throughput. This new firewall, and we had to turn off and modify some of the features to handle NWEA testing last year. So this new firewall will be able to run full capacity with approximately 3 times the growth built into it to handle us over the next 5 years. If there's any particular questions regarding the hardware of the firewall, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Questions? You've explained it fairly well for moi, who's not quite the technology-driven person, so I appreciate that. I mean, I know what a firewall is, and it does sound like if it addresses the challenges that we've had with the NWA, that's a really positive thing, so moving in that direction. And I appreciate the cooperative bid. That's a nice thing to be able to do with our other districts. So are there other questions that board members have? This will come back to us for approval at the next meeting and a vote, and I appreciate you being here and explaining it and what you're looking to do to protect our computers. Thank you. All right. I wasn't sure how to pronounce his last name, I have to be honest.
We call him Moss.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moss. Next, we have a Best of England trip. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Amy Miller, Novi High School English teacher, is requesting that 24 to 36 English ELA students travel to England from March 30th, 2018 through April 7th, 2018 to connect authors with places and stories in literature to real life by going to the country where they were written and understand the influence that the historic and cultural areas contributed to the authors. This 10-day trip will highlight a walking tour of London, visit the Salisbury Cathedral and Stonehenge, a guided tour of Bath and shops in Oxford, Greenwich, and the Globe Theatre. The trip will cost approximately $4,000 per student, plus incidentals and spending money. Ms. Miller, along with 3 other high school English teachers, Ronald Lee Hinderhand, Peggy Bassett, and Jessica Rogers, will be chaperoning the students on this trip. The trip will take place during spring break, so students will not miss any days of school. The Best of England trip is coming to the board tonight for information and discussion. It would come back to the board for approval on September 14th.
All right, thank you. Discussion on the Best of England trip. Anybody, this is not a trip that they have taken in the past,
It
that
is
I
not,
can recall.
this is a new trip.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Well,
Yeah, the itinerary looks good.
They do not need additional chaperones.
Aw.
you've already consulted with them apparently on that. I do love the idea of taking students on spring break. I mean, typically, some students have the opportunity to go places other students don't, but connecting the literature to the places they were written and helping them understand the times and the culture as well as the writings, I think would be very helpful for our ELIT students. And they're anticipating just 40 some students?
If additional students were to go, we would seek additional chaperones.
Chaperones.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good to know. Any additional questions?
So this would come back to the board
Yeah.
on September 4th.
I do want to say that I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was looking at the group size in, I don't know what page number that is. It looks like page 5 of 13. It says to qualify as a participant, students must have completed high school English language arts with a C- average or higher. If necessary, priority would be awarded to upperclassmen 11th and 12th students. The maximum number of students allowed is 36. But I didn't quite understand, completed high school English language arts mean they take all of the classes they've had for whatever, like if you're a junior, they'd look at the 3 years worth of classes to determine if you have a C- average, or, I don't know who to look at.
That would be my
Where's this
guess,
coming from?
is how they would determine that. They would look at all the English classes you've taken during high school to make sure you had a C- or higher average.
Okay, so, high school English. So could a freshman potentially go?
I would say a freshman has the potential to go. They're trying to market it mainly to upperclassmen.
Okay, all right.
Maybe we could get solid clarity on that
Yes,
before
we will get
before our
solid
next
clarity.
meeting,
Yep.
just so that as we are talking about it and people are maybe interested in it also now. So I do appreciate them getting this to us well in advance. And the fact that they're giving students plenty of time to both apply and maybe raise some money or save some money in order to be able to participate.
And read the literature.
Yeah, there you go.
Hopefully
And-
before they go.
And read their literature before they go.
That's
Amen. All right. Additional comments or questions about our field trip? If not, we will move on to our, we have a resolution on our board calendar. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. The board bylaw 0165.2 states that within 3 days after the board adopts a resolution changing the date, time, or place of a regularly scheduled meeting, the meeting notice shall state the date, time, and place of the rescheduled meeting, as well as the name, address, and telephone number of the district. Said notice shall be posted on the front door of the administrative office building and such other places as the board may determine. It is proposed that the board change the posted calendar in the following ways. The September 21st meeting moves to September 28th. The meetings are currently scheduled for September 7th and 14th. The regular third Thursday, September 21st, was moved to September 14th because the superintendent and assistant superintendent will be away at the Michigan School Superintendent's Conference on September 21st. However, when the board proposed adding a third meeting in September, that meeting was inadvertently scheduled on September 21st instead of September 28th. So we would propose moving the September 21st meeting to September 28th, and that change would allow the superintendent to attend the workshop meeting in September. This calendar change is presented to the board this evening for information and discussion, and would come back to the board for action on the September 14th meeting.
We would adopt a bylaw to change the,
Adopt the resolution.
and just to clarify, it is scheduled as a work session, but it is still considered a regular meeting for the purposes of this. So are there questions or comments about changing the meeting to the 28th on the 21st?
You say that for the purposes of, what was that again?
I will not be in town on the September 21st. I'll be at the Michigan Superintendent's Conference.
What is the intent of the work session that week?
It's
Superintendent goals. So it seems like I should be present.
I would want to be
It would be.
president if somebody were setting my goals. So frankly, I like the idea of having a gap and not doing 3 weeks in a row, so.
Okay. So this will come back for, it'll be a
Next
resolution to
week.
change it on the next week.
Correct.
And if you'll mark your calendars though in the meantime for the 28th, that would be helpful so that we can move forward with that. Our next is policy updates and revisions. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. The current board bylaw 0170, duties 0172 legal states the Board of Education may employ an attorney to represent the school district. The proposed change is to make the word attorney plural so that if the board chooses, the district could have multiple firms or attorneys work for the district. So the only change would be to add an S to the word attorney so that it would be possible for the board to employ more than one attorney if the board sees fit.
Comments or questions about changing that policy? I know we had a suggestion that we look at possibly having a separate firm represent the board versus the district, which is not an uncommon practice among school boards, so I think it makes sense to give us the leeway to change it personally. Mrs. Gleason.
Yeah, recently I made phone calls for a reference check on Lusk Albertson for policies, and one of the things I asked the 4 districts I called was who was their legal counsel and if the legal counsel was Lusk Albertson. And all of the districts had multiple law firm or legal firms that they were utilizing. They felt one firm did better in special ed and another, in something else, and so it seems like a common practice to have more than one. So this, I would support going ahead and making the change.
Okay. All right, well, so that will also come back to us. Oh,
And
Mr. Mendes.
I was just going to recommend a grammatical change. I don't think we need "and" in front of attorneys, and we can get rid of the parentheses. I think if we say it may employ attorneys, it means singular, plural. So
Okay.
I think just grammatically, it would
We
make
can do
more
that.
sense to do that. It
Okay.
wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the
Intent.
thought behind. Yep, the intent.
Okay. Okay, we can make that change before that comes back to us for a vote on the 14th. Next, we have our next opportunity for comments from the audience. This is comments about anything within our jurisdiction on this board. Again, we would ask that you would fill out a green card in the back of the room, and you could either hand it to Mrs. Halley or bring it up to the table. Seeing no one. Next, we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Our 2017-2018 school year is off to a positive start. The first 3 days of school have gone well. I visited every building in the district on Tuesday and found teachers teaching and students learning. Our buses have been on time. There have been some small hiccups with transportation, but we're trying to address them quickly. One of the issues is that some routes are scheduled the way they are because we have students in the district that require door-to-door transportation based on their individual educational plan. And we do not share that information because of the Privacy Act, the FERPA, but our routes are planned carefully. In the first 2 weeks of school, we identify routes that do not work well and need some adjustment, and we'll make those adjustments after the first couple of weeks of school. We prepared for the start of school with 2 days of professional development. I'd like to thank Dr. Weber and his Office of Academics team, Jeff Dinkelman, Darby Hoppenstadt, Alice Smith, Shaylee Patel, and Melissa Matson, for the wonderful job they did in preparing and executing 2 full days of professional development. We also received lots of support from the technology office, which was very welcome. And those 2 days were a huge success. I'd also like to thank Wanda Ciancio and our technology department. Several huge tasks were undertaken this summer. There were a few bumps in the road, but they have been problem solved and handled as they arise, and their work has been outstanding this year. I'd also like to thank Ms. Diglio and the effort of Kathy Donovan for the work they did to hire our staff this summer. Over 30 teachers and 2 administrators were hired this summer. Additionally, bus drivers and support staff were also hired. The office has been quite busy this summer, and the results have been outstanding. And also would like to welcome Jill Minnick to the district and her first Novi Community School District Board of Education meeting as the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. I would warn her that meetings may not go as quickly in the future as they have tonight. Next week on September 13th, I will host my first coffee with the superintendent at 10:15 a.m. at the Novi Public Library. I will have as a guest that day Officer John Zabek, who is our police liaison from the Novi Police Department. And we'll be discussing school safety and reviewing what we are doing to ensure that our schools are safe every day and asking parents if they have additional ideas for us. So I would encourage parents to plan to attend the Coffee with the Superintendent at 10:15 a.m. On September 13th at the Novi Public Library. I'd also like to encourage everyone to make plans to attend Taste Fest before the September 15th home football game. The football team plays Brighton that evening. Taste Fest will start at 5 p.m. The weather will be perfect, I've been told, that evening, and the evening will be fun. On October 7th, the Novi High School Marching Band hosts fanfare. The festivities begin at 4:20, and the final awards will be presented at 9:30 p.m. The Novi High School Marching Band will perform at approximately 9 p.m. that evening. This year, we welcomed the graduating class of 2030 as kindergarten students. We do not know what the world will look like in 2030. What I know is that the students who attend our schools will be prepared. Every day in our district, our teachers, administrators, and staff work hard to meet the needs of every student who enters our buildings. We focus not only on teaching the curriculum, but on helping our students develop the skills and attitudes they will need to meet the challenges of living in the 21st century. The 2017-18 school year will be a great year, and I am glad to welcome everyone to our new school year.
Wonderful, thank you, Dr. Matthews. Next, we have just one quick question. At the library, if parents want to go, where is it located? Which room?
Typically, we meet in the library boardroom, which is on the second floor. You go up the stairs, and it's
Okay.
right there on the second floor.
That's what I thought. We had overflowing crowds there before.
Occasionally we have.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And next, we have our administrative reports. And I just want to say welcome also to Ms. Menick as your first official board meeting with us. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you have any administrative report from your office at this point, but
I'll just give a very brief update. As Dr. Matthews mentioned, transportation seems to be going fine. We've had just a couple of hiccups that we are addressing. Food service, and it seems to be going fine as well. Our annual financial audit commenced this past Tuesday, and so we have our auditors from Plant Moran on site for 2 weeks. And so we will be bringing forward to the Finance Committee and the full board in October the financial report and financial statements for your review and approval. And I'm getting up to speed on the construction projects and all that is going on in our beautiful facilities, and slowly but surely introducing myself to all the principals and administrators and other staff throughout the district. So thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
great. Welcome aboard. All right.
I just want to thank everyone for coming together for a good start. Day 4, we're moving right along, and I appreciate everyone being here and working together.
Great energy in the district. I'd like to thank Ms. Glebzinski and Ms. Murphy for attending our youth dialogue sessions. Our impact, as Dr. Matthews said, we're very proud of. We had 51 presenters who are staff in our district and 22 kids who presented in the district to our staff. We're giving a survey right now to our staff to find out what we could do better. It's only about 200 responses, and overwhelmingly positive, and very grateful to serve in a community of learners that really understands that we also have to get out and teach with our colleagues as well. So thank you.
Wonderful. Next, we have committee reports. Mrs. Glebzinski.
Yes, the Governance and Policy Committee met August 29th, and we reviewed Section 2 and Section 3 of the proposed board operating procedures, and I gave a report to my fellow committee members about the reference calls I made regarding Los Albertson for serving us with policies as an alternative to Neola. Those responses have been posted in Board Book along with the minutes and the notes from the meeting, so if other board members are interested in that. We will have a report to the board, I think later in September, right, about Les Albertson and Neola. And our next committee meeting is September 12th. We're going to conclude our review of the proposed board operating procedures, so we'll be covering sections 4, 5, and 6. So if anybody on the board has feedback, it'd be great if you could get those to Mrs. Murphy by Friday. And we will be preparing for the discussion at the board table, the advantages and disadvantages between Neola and Les Albertson when we meet. So that committee meeting is September 12th from 5 to 7 here at the Educational Services Building. It is an open meeting.
other committee reports? I don't think. Finance
I
probably
do
need-
have a question. Do you have the date for the Finance Committee meeting in October? I'm traveling in October twice.
Right now, we have scheduled it for October 12th.
Thanks.
Okay. Great. Next, we have board communication. Any additional board communication? Mrs. Glibson?
Sorry. Not to monopolize, but Mrs. Murphy and I were at the opening day. What do you call that, opening day?
Welcome back.
Welcome back for the staff, and I just wanted to say that the presentation that you gave and the challenge you gave to the staff with the seven, what are the?
Seven most important things.
Seven most important things was a great challenge, and I have filled out my card, and I think that it was a great start. You just do such a nice job of weaving stories and books, and just really encouraging and motivating the staff, so well done.
Well, thank you.
Other board members?
Oh, I'll say I was not able to attend. I unfortunately had another commitment, so I couldn't attend the first day. But I will say I went to the football game, and I had 3 separate staff members just come over to me and say it was the best session, the opening day session that they've had in a very long time. And then, so I live in the Village Oaks district, like Ann, and we've got 5 little boys and girls who get on the bus right outside my door. And Tuesday, they were animated and crazy when they got on, and I saw them when they got off, and they were animated and jumping when they got off the bus. So it seems to have been a good start.
It was a good.
I would certainly echo Ann's comments that it was very inspirational. I know that a lot of people walked away feeling very inspired and very uplifted about the school year and the beginning of it. So, and heard a lot of very, very positive feedback. I didn't think he could top last year, but he did. So, yeah, thank you, and thank you for including us in that. It was nice to be there. I also want to put a plug in. The NEF, the Nova Educational Foundation, is having their pancake breakfast on Saturday at the high school. You can get tickets at the door. It's from 7:30 to 10:30, and it's Chris Cakes that's doing them, and the pancakes are fantastic, and it's all you can eat. Fruit, sausage, pancakes, juice, coffee for like $8, I think, at the door. So if anybody is interested and can make it that morning, even just for a portion of time, I'm sure there will be plenty of pancakes. So I would encourage you to do that to support our Novi Educational Foundation. I know they have been very busy preparing that and doing some other things this year, and they were also presenters at the Welcome Back and gave a little bit of money to each of our new teachers, which is a very nice thing that they do as well to help them in their classrooms. So I appreciate that. I do have a meeting tomorrow in Lansing for the I'm on the MASB's Government Relations Committee. I have another year on that committee, and that will be meeting on Fridays. It's usually the first Friday of every month to just talk about our legislative priorities. So I will report out on that when I come back next time. And certainly, if there are concerns that you have legislatively, you're always welcome to share those with me, so that when we go and have those discussions, I'm up to speed on what you guys feel is important. So I would encourage you to do that as well. And I know you got an email from me asking for some feedback on some other things. So just I've asked Sheila to include the deadlines in the top of our weekly updates so that we can maybe keep things a little bit more in one place so that we can stay on top of those. So hopefully that will be helpful for each board member. And if there is nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Moved by Mr. Mena,
I support that.
supported by Mrs. Hood. Is there any discussion on the journey? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for being here this evening.
Want to say something?
No, I don't say that anymore.
Today, I always